Hey y'all, I'm Brittany Kelly, and welcome to The Journey Within. In these 8 episodes, I take you through 8 women's journeys. Always remember, be kind, because everyone you meet is on a journey of their own.
Hey y'all, I'm here with Megan Griffin, a good friend of mine, also my skin guru. She's the owner of Skin Farm, also a nurse practitioner, and we're sitting here in her warehouse, Skin Farm Warehouse, which is just amazing. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for having me.
We are so excited to dig into your story and just tell the world about Megan. So tell us a little bit about your background, where you grew up, how you grew up.
I was actually born in Scottsdale, and my family moved here to Nashville before high school. And I've been in Nashville ever since. I am a nurse practitioner. I'm professionally known for starting Skin Farm here in Nashville, but I'm also a mom to 3 and a wife to a husband and a friend and a sister and so many other things.
I love that. So this interview is focused around mental health, so I want to dive right into that topic and just ask you, were you exposed to mental health when you were younger? Was it talked about in your family? Was there a stigma around it? What did you know about mental health when you were younger?
I feel like mental health, it's not that it wasn't intentionally talked about in my house, but I don't really think it was a thing. For me, I feel like I was first exposed to mental health, just like the term, probably about 10 years ago. And I think that could partially be because of me entering the industry around then. I feel like with the aesthetic industry, there's a lot of talk about mental health. And I feel like once I started my journey of skin health and what that provided me, it improved not only my skin health and my physical health, but my mental health. So I think that also made me hyper aware of it. And then I think it's probably part of the kind of like health and wellness movement that started around 10 years ago too, at least in my eyes. So I think that's when I started becoming really aware of it. But growing up, we didn't really talk about it a ton. When reflecting, my mom went to Jazzercise, so I think in her own way, she was definitely practicing mental health, but I just wasn't aware of it at the time.
Mm-hmm. Was there anything in your childhood that was traumatic or that kind of put you in a space where you knew you may have needed some help?
I'm fortunate to have had, from what I recall, a pretty normal childhood. I grew up with 2 brothers, one older, one younger. Both of my parents incredibly involved. My mom actually had childcare, held a childcare in Phoenix when, I think it was kindergarten through 5th grade. So really, no traumatic experiences there. I did in high school experience a friend who passed in a boating accident on the lake, and for that reason, I'm not into the lake and can't do the lake anymore. And that also, now that you ask, is also when I was kind of exposed to mental health. And even at the time, I don't think I was so aware of what I was practicing, but
did your mom encourage you to go to seek counseling?
She did. Which is really impressive because I'm not sure if she grew up that way or not, but she encouraged therapy, and it was very helpful for sure. Yeah.
Did you ever relate mental health with mental illness? Because I know when I was growing up, I was raised by my grandmother, and there was this stigma there that almost if you went to mental, health counseling or you went to a therapist that you were ill. Mm-hmm. It wasn't for maintenance or it wasn't for quick repair. It was no, you're mentally ill. Did you feel that message, or did you?
I didn't so much. I definitely think it's out there though. I don't really experience that with the people that are close to me in regards to when I talk about seeking therapy or even self-care and how that contributes to my mental health. I think that there's definitely a stigma around taking medication for it. And I've been open about that.
There are so many people walking around on medication, mm-hmm. and it's not a bad thing, it's a helpful thing for your brain. And I think now that we're in this new generation of almost mental health being trendy, it's I don't know if you've noticed this, but from the time we grew up, no one spoke about it. No one spoke mm-hmm. about being on medicine. No one spoke about going to therapy. But now, I'm with my girlfriends and people are like, you'll never know what I learned in therapy. Let me tell you, have you experienced that kind of change in message?
Yes. here at Skin Farm, we'll even say, okay, gotta go, I gotta grab my therapy appointment. So, and we even joke about yoga and how it's truly serves as an antidepressant. So, again, I'm thankful that I think being at Skin Farm, we're so in tune to our holistic health overall. So, I mean, obviously, we're naturally just open to that component of our health, but definitely trending now, and I'm all about it.
Yeah, no, I love it. And so you just spoke about, your business. Have you experienced anything within your business that's kind of pushed you to seek even more mental health therapy?
Yes.
Can you talk about those or any challenges specifically?
I mean, I think being an entrepreneur in general, I mentioned that I started therapy when one of my best friends had passed in high school. I was a junior and she was a senior who had just graduated. And I think that was pretty short term. I think it was definitely kind of circumstantial, and then I didn't continue. And then I started going to therapy again once I started having babies. I mean, postpartum is a really challenging time for women, and then also continued therapy, just being an entrepreneur. It's just really, as you know, an emotional roller coaster. So I need to go back, actually. This is a great reminder. So I got to leave, actually.
No, I mean, we've had these conversations, about business, and I know for me, having, I call my therapist a coach, but having my coach, instead of taking, whatever it may be, maybe I'm feeling a little resentment towards somebody or a little aggression, don't get me wrong, like we all have our days, instead of, letting that get sideways, if you will, in front of your employees. I think it's so important to dig into someone who is a professional and that will actually give you tools to navigate. Yes. Do you feel like you've been in those situations? I mean, I'm sure there's so many people watching this that have a business that may or may not have had therapy, and you don't think like, okay, if I'm having issues with my team, or I'm having issues internally, managing, let me go speak to a therapist. Like, that's not wasn't my first thought. But once I started getting that knowledge, do you feel like talking to someone about that has made you a better leader?
Yeah, for sure. I think so. With my personality, I tend to really, my awareness is, I think, helpful in a lot of ways, but that can turn into a little bit of anxiety, right? So I really like to, anything that I address, any challenge, I really like to move through it, and I can take a little bit longer than my husband. So I think, by the way, Brad and I are in business together, and that's incredibly helpful, but I also don't think that I need to burden him with everything, and then I don't want to burden my team either. So I love the idea of properly moving through any of these challenges, but moving through it with a third party who's, specializes in it, because I think we've all got our own stuff going on, so I don't know that I need to go to everyone around me and make them handle it.
Yeah. No, I love that. I know it's made me like such a better, even free resources like books. Like I know diving into books even, like it's helped me become a better leader and really be seen for who I want to be seen for, which is kind and compassionate, and someone with empathy, but also someone that has a backbone with leadership. Yeah. And a lot of the times that's boundaries.
Right. I think you've done a great job with that. I know that we've texted kind of in moments of needing to vent, but then I feel like we always round it out with like teaching each other a lesson that we've learned in therapy or a podcast or a book. So I think
that's so important too, being able to have, folks that are in the same wheelhouse with you. We don't run the same business, but we deal with a lot of the same issues, relationally. Yeah. And it's great to have someone bounce, back and forth
amazing.
Off of. Between therapy or coaching, having really great people in your circle, and the free resources, books. I mean, I think it just builds a better leader.
Yeah.
So shifting gears here a little bit, let's talk about just being a mom. Like, I'm not a mom yet, but I know I have a ton of really close friends that have gone through different challenges of being a mom, especially after you have a baby. Can you talk about some of those and how you were feeling? And
I think one of the things that I most commonly say is that when you become a mom, your heart is just like on your chest. So it's like, I think, I've been a mom for 5, almost 6 years. So I'm in a nice position in that I'm a little more comfortable, a little more seasoned. But I think really understanding that there's going to be a level of vulnerability in becoming a mom. And once I became comfortable with that, it was so much easier. But I think fighting that for a while, just not liking how emotional you were, was kind of challenging. And that on top of entrepreneurship, because really Skin Farm launched around the same time that motherhood also launched for me. that was really extra challenging. But I feel like I'm in a
feeling
good spot
like
right
really
now.
down? Like, were you feeling sad or confused?
No,
or?
it would be anxious. Never really blue, but I think it's just that, you know, I'm an Enneagram 3 and then I'm an overachiever. So going into motherhood, I knew that I was already at risk because I think you become a mom, or I don't think I know, that you become a mom and you want to be really good at being a mom, then you want to be really good at still being a wife and really good at being a business owner, and you just can't. So I think once I realized that and showed myself grace, it all became a little bit easier and just a little more enjoyable too.
Did you speak to someone about this?
Yeah, everyone.
And
All the friends around me, other moms. I love talking to new moms about it too, to let them know what they're about to experience, and everyone's experience is unique to themselves. But that and therapy. Each time I had a child, I would go back to therapy. I think it was the second one where I felt like I was in a pretty good place with Eli, but I even kind of prophylactically started going to therapy again to watch myself. So.
I mean, that's so courageous in being in your position. I mean, this is my opinion, but as a nurse practitioner, I would assume if I was a nurse practitioner, I'm like, oh, I know what's going on in my body. Like, I'm good. I'm like, you know, it's very brave to like step outside of your comfort zone and like say, hey, I need help. If someone's watching this and they are feeling those same feelings, like, what would you say to them?
Get help. But I think that it just goes back to the whole stigma, that there's not a stigma around it, and there's, well, I should not say that, there is a stigma around it, but there is nothing wrong with admitting that you need help. And I think that in general, so I'm gonna kind of tie this in with what we're doing in aesthetic medicine. I think there can be a stigma around aesthetic procedures and a stigma around mental health, and I think that that all truly comes from people being uncomfortable with individuals admitting that there's something that they don't like about themselves, right? So I think that plays into mental health, and for whatever reason, we're so in each other's business that we're like, well, we don't like that they just said that they have something that they would like to show a little TLC to, right? And that's wildly inappropriate. And it's really the same thing with aesthetic medicine, because I think it comes down to that someone might love plenty of their features, but there might be one feature, whether it's, I don't know, if it's their lower face or if it's lines on their forehead, but if that's bothering them and they want to improve it, it's really their business and no one else's. And so I think if we could remove the stigma in general of judging people when they decide to pursue resources to improve any of their insecurities, I think that we should be okay with that. And I think it betters us as a whole, right?
I think anything we do that makes us feel better is good for our mental health,
Right.
you know?
And I think we're nice to everyone else around us too. So I think the confidence boost and the mood boost and the life boost is great for society and all of our interpersonal relationships, honestly. So I think the more that we work on removing the stigma around all of these things, the better, the happier humanity might be.
And I love how you just, position that, because, I've been in situations where I'm excited about, I just got Botox for the first time, and or I just got this, PRP treatment and they drew my blood, and I've had people be like, why are you doing that? You're beautiful. They're almost like offended by like what you've done. And I think stepping into your power as the person getting those treatments and just saying like, I did this for me. I was listening to a podcast with Miley Cyrus the other day, and she literally was walking through her day, and she's like, I was getting ready. It was for a podcast that wasn't even videoed, and she's like, I was getting ready, I was putting my heels on, I was putting my little push-up bra on, and she goes, I literally looked in the mirror and realized like, I'm getting ready for me. And like, how powerful is that to like step into that? How do you encourage that, if somebody were to come into Skin Farm and they are so nervous, because maybe fear of judgment or fear of messing their, self up, like how do you like paint that picture for someone walking into Skin Farm really nervous for the first time? Like, how do you make them feel comfortable?
Exactly that. I mean, we really do focus in the consults about discussing that these treatments are to fulfill some of your own needs, right? Never to do it for anyone else. And so there's certain things that we look out for when people come in. If it's that there's a lot of pictures that they're showing us of other women and that they want to look like, then we refocus, we pivot the conversations and we return to discussing them and their aesthetic and their features that are unique, that make them beautiful. And then when people are nervous, say that, maybe they come in and they say, my husband really doesn't want me to do this. We get that frequently. And as you said, people say, you're beautiful, why are you getting this done? I do think some people might be saying that coming from a good place, honestly. And I think that is probably just a lack of awareness around the procedures and not understanding that These can be done tastefully and, if we want to say subtly or impactful, and, that Skin Farm specializes in that. I think just making them comfortable with knowing that we're never looking to change anybody or their appearance. We're just looking to enhance so that they can feel better and then go out on their day-to-day and just have a happier, easier life.
And that's exactly how I felt. I was really nervous. I was sweating so much when I first came in the office. I'm like, you could give me Botox in my armpits because I'm sweating. I'm so nervous. Yeah. Even my husband was like, I don't know what you're going to go do to your face. Yeah. And I just immediately trusted you. I just felt disarmed and comfortable, and I didn't feel pressure. I left there and didn't get anything done that day. And I came back and, we had a whole plan. And I just think that's so important for people to feel, embraced and listened to and seen and heard when they come in somewhere that has these treatments. And another thing that I love about Skin Farm is that, I know when we were exploring products, because you have a whole product line. You do treatments, you can do anything from facials to Botox to filler, but you also have a huge product line that you've worked on. And you have literally basically been the chemist putting this stuff together, and it's not that you don't feel like when you're sitting there that you're just trying to sell you everything. You get to the root of it. You're like, well, how's your diet? What are you, I love that about Skin Farm because you feel comfortable, you feel relaxed, and as crazy as it sounds, my mental health was better once I left there.
Oh, yeah.
I felt like I could do everything there,
Yeah, I definitely think, and it's been fun as we recently just celebrated being in business for 5 years, and we've kind of been learning, what are places in the world, right? And we always knew, I always knew that we had something good going on, but as we just came up on 5 years, we're like, this is really bigger than skin health, right? It's skin health, it's physical health, it's mental health, and we know that because people are telling us that. It's not us just assuming that we believe we're making a positive impact on our patients, but it's the daily patient testimonials that people are just so grateful for, whether it's our products or our treatments or both of them. They're just more confident and having again, happier and easier life.
Mm-hmm. No, I love that. Let's talk about, someone that is looking at you and thinking I want to do what she does or something similar, and or they're looking at your social media and thinking she's got it together. Can you walk us through your routine? Do you have certain things that you do that are going to set you up to have a good day, are going to set you up in a mental way? Can you just walk us through that? Do you incorporate movement every day? Yes. How does that look?
I would work out every single day if I could, and I'm about to get there. I've upped it to 4 times a week. I was getting in 2 to 3, but I absolutely love Yoga Sculpt at Core Power. I've done many different workouts. I danced in high school, so I've always been active. But when I found Core Power Yoga and the specific Yoga Sculpt workout, I found that it was so good for my mental health. I love it for flexibility. There's a cardio burst involved. There's some weightlifting, which I think is really important for women, especially as we age. And then I just like that there's this symbol of being between the 4 corners of your mat, and I'm like, this is my time to be alone. And I think even with kids and husband, you're like, okay, no one's gonna come on my mat. So I love that, whether it's 45 or 60 minutes. It's a great workout. And then I feel like they also do a really good job of, any of the lessons that you're learning in the studio are pretty applicable to life once you leave the studio too. So it might be that they say, okay, today we might be doing these exercises, and I really encourage you to lean into them, and being uncomfortable is good. That's where you're probably going to see change, but being in pain is not, and that's when you need to walk away. And when they say that, you're like, oh my gosh, that's also, okay, it's so applicable to other things I'm experiencing in life. So love my workouts. They are a necessity. They're no longer even about really physical health as much as it is mental health, and again, it kind of serves as that antidepressant. Not about the calorie burn anymore, so much as it was in my teens and 20s.
It is a natural antidepressant. I mean, you're a nurse practitioner. Can you explain a little bit what happens in your brain? When
I don't know.
Movement happens?
If it's not Botox, I don't know. But definitely there's the release of endorphins, and otherwise I'd have to Google and share exactly what happens, or go back to school.
Well, you can not even be a medical professional and know that if you're having a bad day, or I know for at least me, and I, go to yoga or hop on the bike.
Can totally turn your mood around.
Or even just go on a walk and get some sun. I'm like, some chemicals are happening to where I am a completely different person.
Yeah, that's so good for you.
And I know, even just suggesting, I've had a couple friends that hate to work out, and I'm like, just go on a walk.
Yeah,
just move your body.
See what works for you.
And it just, But sorry to interrupt, but keep
No,
talking
you're
us through. Are
fine.
there anything else that
Morning routine. I recently started making sure that I drink 32 ounces of water before I have my caffeine. And then I like to have my smoothie or my latte. And my workouts I have shifted to go at 6 a.m. so that I can return and be up before the house wakes up at 7 a.m.
Whoa.
Which is made.
I'm like, I'm getting up at 7 a.m. to get my coffee.
Wow, yeah, it's pretty early, but it's helped because I've had that moment to myself before I'm giving myself to my children, and then I feel like when I return at 7, I'm like ready to fully focus on them and help them brush their teeth and get ready for the day. So
I love that.
yeah.
So you talked about, you know, your Enneagram being this big achiever. How do you celebrate your wins? Like, do you slow down enough to celebrate your wins?
Right before I came, I talked to my husband for like a full hour and a half about how I'm feeling and that I think I need like a little, he was like, you should take up tennis. You need something to just like go and not think about Skin Farm, because I was like firing on all cylinders. But typically, I mean, it might be that I go to like a reflexology appointment this afternoon or go on a walk. It's actually not raining in Nashville, so I don't think it's raining anytime soon. But I do try to take a moment to myself, and honestly, I could probably even be a little bit better about that, as evidenced by my discussion with my husband. So, yeah.
I love that. And like, just, you know, veining off that topic, you know, I work with my husband too very closely, and we get along great. Sometimes it is challenging.
Yeah.
Are there any tips and tricks that that you have if someone works alongside their partner or even like their best friend, you know?
I love working with Brad. I do not think we would be where we are without Brad. I think it's very helpful that Brad's my husband, by the way. I just started referring to him as Brad. But I think it's helpful that I started the company on my own. So I had that moment to really like get it to where it was sustainable and doing well. So I'm proud of that. And I think it's really nice that he came on really to help scale, to help grow once we realized that it was really in demand and that it could be even more than it was. We both have our own skill set, so it's very helpful. It's pretty rare that we overstep. And then I think working together is really sexy. I like the conversations that we have outside of work. I think some of our best ideas have come up and not like your regular work hours. But it does mean that we've had to be really mindful of not letting it just overtake our lives and talking about it at the dinner table. And I do think that kids really help with that. As far as perspective, I mean, you're really just required to shut it off, right? When you have to start boiling water for macaroni and cheese and putting on Brian's record. That's all that Eli requests at dinner. It's so cute. But I think, you know, we're trying. We don't have it figured out, but we're constantly striving for that balance, to balance all the things. And I think just really committing to doing it together.
No, I love that. I know we have moments where I'm like, okay, tonight, no phones, no computers, no work talk, like let's pretend like we're dating.
Yeah. Exactly, yeah. Whether it's like scheduling a monthly date or I read Atomic Habits and loved it, and I think it's really helped too to like shut down my workstation and walk away and know that like that's where I'm leaving it. It doesn't mean that I don't get like a call at 8 p.m. regarding something, but otherwise I think it's those boundaries that we talked about and just being mindful that like this time, I mean, as far as the kids, like this time is flying by. So I'm really just like holding on for dear life and trying to take in all the sweet moments.
So you have a lot going on right now. Can you just tell us how Skin Farm is expanding? Like what cities you're in now? You're not just in Nashville, like you're all over the place. Where are you going?
We opened in Atlanta. That was the first clinic outside of Nashville. And then we opened in Dallas. In Charlotte, we opened in February. And we just announced that we're opening in Franklin. So that'll be our second location here in Nashville. And I think that's really exciting and just like symbolic of the community here and how much they've supported us. The market in general is competitive, and I think it's really awesome and rewarding to see how many people love Skin Farm and that they want even more, and that we're now opening a location just like 17 miles away is incredibly wild. So we're excited about that. That will open later this year.
Nice. I love it. So to wrap this up a little bit, so one of our graphics has to do with love and compassion. That's on the back of one of our hoodies. How do you spread love and compassion in your community? Is there anything that you do through your business?
Yeah, I mean, in addition to just the customers and patients and clients that we get to see daily, we just recently started a series called Vanity Refresh. And the way that that works is a son or a husband or a daughter or a friend can nominate someone who they feel is in need of a vanity refresh with Skin Farm products, but it's really so much more than that, in that we're providing them like the excuse and the reminder and the moment to take time to yourself and have that ritual in the morning and the evening of taking care of your skin. Most recently, we started with a really sweet, deserving mom who's about to enter, or really she's already started, a challenging time with her son who was diagnosed with stage 3 multiple myeloma, and her daughter nominated her. It was so sweet and heartfelt. And we gave her our signature candle that we have, and she was like, I'm gonna light this and I'm gonna take a bath. And it was just really good to hear that when she's in the middle of becoming his primary caregiver, which is going to be so physically and mentally taxing, that she's agreed to have a moment to herself. So again, I feel like it's so much bigger than just laying our products out on the vanity, but a really good way to remind our community that mental health should always be top of mind.
No, I absolutely love that. That's amazing what y'all are doing.
Yeah.
And so people can just follow along through social media
Yeah.
and what y'all are doing with that program.
Yeah, we'll be posting about it soon.
That's awesome. Well, we're about to go do a little yoga
Okay.
at your favorite yoga spot.
Let's do it.
And I'm so thankful that you let us in your space.
Thank you.
And allowed us to tell a little bit of your story. So thank you so much.
You're
for being
welcome.
here. Yes.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.